My parents ordered me not to bring those children to Easter dinner because they're not blood of their blood. My name is Elena. And if I'm telling this story, it's not for you to feel sorry for me, but because I need to know if what I did in the end, if I went too far. My story, or rather, the end of my old life, began with a phone call. It was 2 weeks before Easter. "Elena," said my mother, Beatrice, on the other end of the line. Her voice, as always, had that tone of being busy with something much more important than talking to me. "Hi, Mom. I was just calling to see what the plan was for Easter dinner. What time should we get there? Should I bring anything?" I thought maybe a potato salad, and that's when she interrupted me. There was a pause, one of those pauses that makes your blood run cold because you know a blow is coming. "Look, Elena, your father and I have decided that this year will be something more intimate. Just family." I felt that familiar stone settle in my stomach. That cold stone I'd known since I was a child. Just family. I don't understand. David and I are family. The kids. Exactly, she said. And I could feel it, I swear I could feel her rolling her eyes. "Look, Elena, you and your husband can come if you want, but your father and I are ordering you not to bring those children." Those children. That's how she referred to my kids. "Mom, what are you saying? They're your grandchildren. They're my children." "No, Elena," she said, and her voice sharpened. It lost all pretense. "They are not. They are not blood of our blood. And this dinner is for real family, so leave them at your house. Period." She hung up. I stood in my kitchen, the phone trembling in my hand. The sun was streaming through the window, but I felt an arctic chill. From the living room, I could hear my 3-year-old son, Lucas, laughing as he played with his 2-year-old sister, Julia. Baby Anna was sleeping in her crib. Not blood of our blood. The truth is, I shouldn't have been surprised. A part of me, the part that had survived 35 years of being Beatrice and Raphael's daughter, expected it. But as I always say, it's one thing to know they don't love you. It's another thing entirely for them to spit it in your face so cruelly. I always knew. I always knew that my younger sister, Laura, was the sun around which my parents' universe revolved. And I was the dead satellite, the rock cluttering the orbit. My husband, David, walked into the kitchen at that moment. He saw my face and his smile vanished. "What happened, love? Did you talk to your mother?" I couldn't speak, just shook my head and started to cry. Crying from rage, from humiliation. David took the phone from my hand. He already knew everything. He was the first one to see it. Ever since we were dating, my parents hated him. They hated him because David didn't kiss their asses. They hated him because he treated me well. They hated him because, unlike me, he never sought their approval. "What did that woman say to you?" he asked, clenching his jaw. I told him. David didn't say anything for a full minute, he just hugged me. And then he said the words that changed everything. "It's over, Elena. Do you hear me? Your stupid addiction to their approval is over. It ends today." That's what I called it in therapy. My stupid addiction to hope. That need to go back again and again, knowing they were going to hurt me, just to receive a crumb of affection, a crumb that never came. This time, the addiction had broken. This time, the dose had been pure poison. And as David held me, I didn't feel sadness. I felt ragia cold, clear, and for the first time, liberating rage. Not blood of our blood. I burned those words into my mind. They would be my fuel. To understand the magnitude of that call, you have to understand my childhood. You have to understand what it means to be the family scapegoat. My sister Laura was born 2 years after me, and from the second she took her first breath, I became invisible. Or worse than invisible, I became my mother Beatrice's emotional punching bag. I have one memory that sums it all up. My 10th birthday. For months, I had been asking my parents for a red bicycle I'd seen in the corner store. It was a mountain bike with gears and a basket. I dreamed about it. I begged them. I did all my chores. I got straight A's in school. They promised me. The day of my party arrived. I invited my friends. We cut the cake. And then, the main gift. My parents brought out a huge box. I opened it. It wasn't the bike. It was a doll. An expensive doll, yes, but a doll. I didn't play with dolls anymore. I smiled, just as I'd been taught. Thank you, I said, feeling tears sting my eyes. But Laura, who was 8, saw the doll and started a tantrum. I wanted it. That doll was for me. Elena gets everything. I hate her. It wasn't true. Laura always got everything, but Beatrice rushed to console her. There, my love. Don't cry, princess. Your sister will let you borrow it, right, Elena? I stupidly clung to the box. But it's my birthday present. Beatrice's face transformed. The loving mother mask fell away, and the witch I knew so well appeared. She grabbed my arm, digging her nails into me, and dragged me to the kitchen. Aren't you ashamed, she hissed, making your sister cry on your birthday? You're so selfish, Elena. Always ruining everything. But nothing. You're going to give her that doll. You're too old for it anyway. Grow up. And I did. I walked out with red eyes and handed my only birthday present to my sister, who instantly stopped crying and stuck her tongue out at me. The worst part came later. An hour later, my father, Raphael, walked into the backyard with the red bicycle. My heart leaped. Dad! He smiled at me, but it was a sad, complicit smile. Happy birthday, sweetie. I ran towards the bike, but before I could touch it, Beatrice intercepted. Raphael, what is this? You spent money on this? She deserved it, Beatrice. She got good grades. I don't care. We already gave her the doll. Well, Laura has the doll. So now what? Laura is going to see it and want one. It's not fair to her. And I swear on my life, my mother made my father put the bicycle back in the car. You'll return it tomorrow. Elena doesn't need it. That night I went to sleep listening to my mother console Laura, who had heard about the bike and started another tantrum, while my father Raphael locked himself in his study. Cowardly and complicit, as always. I learned my lesson. I didn't matter. My wishes didn't matter. My pain didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was that Laura was happy and Beatrice wasn't angry. That's how I grew up. If Laura broke a plate, I was punished for not watching her. If I got an A, Beatrice would say, it's your obligation. If Laura got a C, they'd throw her a party for her effort. I had to work from the age of 16 to pay for my own clothes, while they paid for Laura's car, gas, and trips with her friends. I was the long-term investment. She was the crown jewel. When I met David in college, it was like breathing for the first time. He saw through the facade I had built. He saw the 10-year-old girl who had her bicycle taken away, and he loved me. My parents, of course, loathed him. He's a nobody, Elena, Beatrice told me when I said we were getting married. He has no family name, no money. He has a degree, he has a great job, and he loves me, Mom. Love doesn't pay the bills, she scoffed. Laura, on the other hand, is dating a wonderful boy. His father owns 3 construction companies. Laura's wonderful boy was cheating on her and treated her like dirt, but that didn't matter. He had money. We got married without their blessing. David and I built our life. We both got good jobs, him in IT, me in finance. We bought our own house, a small place, but ours. And then we wanted to become parents. We tried for years. We saw specialists. We went through painful, expensive, and emotionally devastating fertility treatments. Every month, a negative. Every month, my heart broke a little more. It was David who proposed it first. "What if we adopt, Elena?" he said one night as I was crying in the bathroom. I looked at him. Adopt. Yes. There are so many children who need a home, a family. We can be that family. The idea took root. Suddenly, the pain of infertility felt different. It felt like a path, not a dead end. We decided we would adopt, and not just one child. We wanted to adopt a sibling group, children who would otherwise be separated by the system. When I told my family, the reaction was exactly what David predicted. I called Beatrice, full of excitement. "Mom, I have great news. David and I are going to adopt." Silence. "Adopt," she repeated, as if I'd said I was joining the circus. "Are you crazy? Why spend all that money on other people's children? Elena, please. Blood calls to blood. Those children will never truly be yours. They grow up and go looking for their real parents. The ones who raise them are the real parents. Mom, don't be ridiculous. It's a mistake. You're going to regret it." I hung up. Then I called Laura. Her reaction was worse. "Ha ha ha. Seriously, sis," she laughed. "You're going to adopt? What if you get the troubled ones? You know, the ones whose parents were drug addicts or thieves. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree." "How brave. Why don't you just keep trying for a real one? Or tell David to try harder?" "No." Her cackles echoed in my ear. "You're a horrible person, Laura," I told her. "Oh, don't be so sensitive. It's just a joke." "Sheesh. Well, I have to go. I'm heading to the salon." David found me in the yard, smashing a flower pot against the wall. "To hell with them," he shouted, kicking the pieces. "Fuck them. We don't need them. We don't need their permission. Our family starts today." And he was right. The process was long, exhausting. Paperwork, interviews, social worker visits, courses. A year and a half of bureaucratic hell, but every signature, every fingerprint brought us closer. One August afternoon, the phone rang. It was the agency. "Elena, David. We have them. They're 3 biological siblings. They're about to be separated. Lucas, 3 years old, Julia, 2, and a baby, Anna, 6 months old. 3. It was perfect. The day we went to pick them up from the shelter is a blur of emotions. Lucas was hiding behind the social worker, looking at us with his enormous, distrustful dark eyes. Julia was clinging to her leg, crying silently, and Anna, so tiny, was sleeping in a worn-out car seat. The first week was chaos, a wonderful chaos. Anna had colic and cried most of the night. David and I took turns carrying her, pacing the living room in the dark. Julia didn't speak, she just pointed and cried if we got too close. Lucas was the protector. If he felt we were getting too close to his sisters, he would stand in front of them and bare his teeth at us like a little wolf guardian. "They don't trust us," I told David on the 3rd night, exhausted, with Anna asleep on my chest and Julia crying in her bed. "We'll earn it," David said firmly, day by day. And we did. We bought chicken nuggets, the only thing Lucas would eat. We discovered that Julia loved lullabies, and even though I sing terribly, I sang to her until her little eyes closed. The breakthrough moment happened a week later. I was in the kitchen trying to make dinner. Anna was in her high chair, and Julia was playing on the floor. Lucas came running in, tripped over a toy, and fell, scraping his knee. It was a hard fall. He started to cry, a cry of pain and fear. I rushed to him. My instinct was to hug him, but I stopped myself. I remembered what they told us, don't force physical contact. I knelt in front of him. Ooh, that hurt, didn't it, champ? Let me see. He looked at me, his face red and full of tears. He was expecting to be scolded. Instead, I blew gently on his knee. Kiss it, make it better, I started to sing softly. He stared at me. He stopped crying. Do you want a dinosaur band-aid? I asked. He nodded slowly. I cleaned it, put the band-aid on, and gave the band-aid a kiss. He stayed still. Then, slowly, he raised his little arms and wrapped them around my neck. It was a clumsy, quick hug, but it was the first. Mama, he whispered in my ear. I almost fainted. That night, when all three were finally asleep, I took a picture of them. Lucas hugging his bear, Julia with her favorite blanket, and Anna in her crib. The most beautiful picture I had ever taken. I opened the family group chat. I'd like you to meet my children, I wrote and sent the photo. My heart was pounding. I was hoping for, I don't know what I was hoping for, a miracle, a congratulations. An hour passed. I saw the blue check marks. Beatriz, seen. Raphael, seen. Laura, seen. 3 hours passed. Nothing. A day passed. Nothing. A week passed. Not a message. Not a call. Not a, how cute. Nothing. That silence was louder than any shout, more painful than any insult. We simply didn't exist. My children didn't exist to them. David deleted the chat from my phone. You don't need to see that, he said. And he was right. December arrived, our first Christmas as a family of 5. David and I decided we weren't going to beg my family. If they didn't want to meet their grandchildren, it was their loss. My parents are dying to come, David said. They're desperate to meet the kids. So, on December 24th, my in-laws, Carmen and her husband, arrived at our house. From the moment Carmen walked through the door, I knew everything would be different. Where are my babies? She shouted with open arms. She didn't ask who was who. She didn't ask where they came from. She simply saw them. Lucas, who was more confident now, ran to her. Carmen lifted him up as if she'd known him his whole life. Look how big you are, my king. My father-in-law approached Julia, who hid behind me. He didn't force it. He sat on the floor, took a small fire truck out of his pocket, and started playing with it on the ground. 10 minutes later, Julia was sitting next to him, playing too. Carmen came over to me, as I was holding Anna. Let me see this princess, she said, with tears in her eyes. I passed her over. Hello, my love. I'm Grandma Carmen, and we are going to spoil you so much. Our house smelled of cinnamon, of the pine from the Christmas tree, and of punch. It smelled like home. Dinner was loud. My in-laws told jokes, played with the kids on the floor, fed them from their own plates. They opened gifts. There were gifts for everyone, but the tree was overflowing with presents for Lucas, Julia, and Anna. Clothes, toys, books. While David washed dishes with his father, Carmen helped me put Anna to sleep. We were in the rocking chair in the baby's room. Elena, Carmen said softly, looking at me. They are wonderful. And you are an incredible mother. I started to cry. I couldn't help it. A silent sob that came from years of feeling inadequate. She hugged me. Don't cry, my girl. Or, well, cry, but cry with happiness. You finally have the family you deserve. And know this, these aren't my adopted grandchildren. They are my grandchildren. Thank you for bringing them into our lives. I stayed in that rocking chair long after Carmen went to sleep. I cried for the 10-year-old girl who had her bike taken away. I cried for the teenager who was told she was worthless. I cried for the woman who was told her children weren't real. And I cried with gratitude for this new family, for Carmen, for my father-in-law, and above all, for David. The next day, December 25th, my mother sent me a text message. 1. Merry Christmas. That was it. Not a question about the kids, not a call. I took a deep breath and deleted the message. New Year's passed. Beatrice sent an identical, Happy New Year. Laura posted pictures from her trip to Cancun, paid for, of course, by my parents. Life went on. My children blossomed. Lucas started kindergarten and turned out to be a genius with blocks. Julia started talking and wouldn't stop singing. Anna gave her first smiles and learned to clap. They were noisy. They were chaotic. They were perfect. But the shadow of my family was still there. That stupid need, that addiction to hope, hadn't completely gone away. Easter was approaching. Don't do it, Elena, David warned me. Don't set yourself up for another disappointment. I just want to try one more time, David. For the last time. I want it so that when my kids grow up and ask about their other grandparents, I can tell them with a clear conscience that I tried everything. David sighed. Okay. But put it on speaker. I want to hear. I dialed my mother's number. My heart was pounding. Hello, Beatrice answered in her icy voice. Hi, Mom. It's Elena. Hey, so with Easter coming up? Yes, she cut me off. We're having dinner here at the house. Laura is bringing her new boyfriend, the businessman. Oh, that's nice. Well, what time should we get there? Should I bring anything? I thought maybe a potato salad. Silence. The silence I already knew. Thought about that, she said. Look, Elena, the house is going to be packed. Laura's boyfriend is bringing his parents too. It's going to be something more intimate. Just family. David, beside me, closed his eyes and clenched his fist. I felt the stone in my stomach. Just family. I don't understand. David and I are family. The kids. Exactly, she said, her voice growing impatient. I could hear Laura in the background asking, who is it, and my mother covering the phone to whisper, it's Elena. Look, Elena, she came back on the phone. You and your husband can come if you want, for a couple of hours. But your father and I are ordering you not to bring those children. Those children. Again. David took my hand. Mom, I said, my voice trembling. Why do you call them that? They're your grandchildren. They're my children. No, Elena, Beatrice said, and her voice sharpened. It lost all pretense. It was pure venom. They are not. They never will be. They are not blood of our blood. And this dinner is for real family, for people of our blood, do you understand? Your father and I don't want strangers, other people's children, in our house on Easter. So either leave them, or don't come. Frankly, we don't care. But nothing. It's settled. I have things to do. And she hung up. I stared at the phone. David took it from my hand and threw it against the sofa. There, he said with a terrifying calm. Is it clear now? Or do you need her to spit it in your face one more time? I couldn't move. I was paralyzed. Not blood of our blood. Other people's children. I stood up, walked to the bathroom, and threw up. I vomited all the bile, all the rotten hope, all the years of humiliation. When I came out, David was on the phone, pale with rage. No, he was saying to someone. I want the biggest cabin you have. The one with the lake view. Yes, for the entire week of Easter. To hell with the price. He looked at me. His eyes were full of fury, but also of an unbreakable resolve. "It's over, Elena," he said. "I swear on my life. It's over." And for the first time, I believed him. "Hey, Elena here." Well, the voice telling the story. Intense, right? If you've also felt that rage, that helplessness in the face of a family injustice, please leave a like on this video. We want this story to reach more people who need to hear it. And subscribe to the channel. Seriously, every subscription helps us continue to tell these stories. And comment, just comment the name of the city you're listening from. Every comment helps the algorithm show us to more people. Thanks for being here. Let's continue with the story. I was still in shock, sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at a fixed point on the wall. But David was in war mode. "Pack the kids' bags, Elena. There's summer clothes. We'll need swimsuits. I'm going to call my parents. I want them to come. I want my kids to have the best Easter of their lives. The best. David, that cabin is. It's incredibly expensive. It costs a fortune per night." He stopped, knelt in front of me, and took my face in both his hands. "Listen to me very carefully, my love. I have spent the last 10 years watching you wither, watching you beg for love from people who aren't fit to shine your shoes. I've watched you downplay their insults, justify their cruelty. But this is a line I will not let them cross. My children. Those children. They can go to hell. Fuck them." I had never seen David like this. His usual calm had shattered, and beneath it was a volcano. "We are going to that rustic mansion in the country. We are going to fish in that lake. We are going to have a bonfire. And I'm going to take so many pictures, Elena. I'm going to upload every single fucking photo to Instagram, to Facebook, everywhere. And I'm going to tag your mother. No, better yet, I'm going to make sure my mother uploads them and Carmen tags them." A slow, almost wicked smile spread across my face. That would drive her crazy," I whispered. "That's the plan, my queen. That's the fucking plan. Now go pack. I'll handle the logistics." David wasn't a man of grand gestures, but when he acted, he was decisive. In less than an hour, the mansion was booked. My in-laws, Carmen and her husband, were thrilled and already packing. David had requested the week off from work. I started to pack, and with every one of Anna's onesies, with every one of Lucas's swim trunks, with every one of Julia's dresses that I put in the suitcase, I felt a weight lifting off my shoulders. The stone in my stomach hadn't gone away, it was turning into steel. Do you think I'm doing the right thing?" I asked him that night. "Elena, you're doing the only thing you can do. You're choosing your children. You're choosing yourself. It's about time." And he was right. It was about time. The problem was, I wasn't just going to choose my family, I was also going to make Beatriz and Laura pay for every tear they had made me shed. I was an accountant, good with numbers, excellent with records. And I remembered something very important. The house where my parents lived, the house where Beatriz planned to have her blood-only dinner, wasn't hers. It was mine. About 15 years ago, my father, Raphael, had a very serious financial problem, a business deal gone wrong, a debt to dangerous people. They were about to lose the house. I had just gotten my first managerial job. I was earning good money. David and I were living in a rented apartment, saving for our own house. Beatriz called me, crying hysterically. "They're going to throw us out on the street, Elena. Your father has ruined us. You have to help us. You're our only hope." Laura, of course, was too busy on a trip to Europe with her friends. So I did it. I emptied my savings. I took out a huge personal loan. David supported me, though he wasn't happy. "It's your family, Elena. Do what you have to do. I paid off the debt, but I set one condition. The house would be put in my name as collateral. Of course, sweetie. Whatever you say. You're an angel, Beatrice cried. We signed the papers. The house was legally mine. They would live there, of course. And I, stupidly, never charged them rent. Not only that, for the next 15 years, I paid the property taxes. I paid for the kitchen remodel Beatrice demanded. I paid for the roof repair. It's your obligation, Elena, Beatrice would tell me. After all, the house will be yours someday. Someday. As I was packing for our trip to the Easter mansion, I stopped. I went to my office, opened the safe, and took out the blue folder. There it was. The property deed. My name, clear as day. We arrived at the rustic mansion. It was spectacular, bigger than it looked in the photos. It had a stone fireplace, floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of the lake, a dream kitchen, and 6 bedrooms. My children ran across the lawn, shouting with joy. Lucas discovered there were fish in the lake. Julia found a swing hanging from an oak tree. Anna took her best nap in months in the fresh mountain air. My in-laws arrived that afternoon. Carmen brought an obscene amount of food. This is paradise. Carmen shouted. Elena, David, you outdid yourselves. And then, David's plan began. Carmen, who loved Instagram, started taking photos. Photos of Lucas with his grandfather trying to fish. Photos of Julia on the swing. A photo of David and me embracing with the lake in the background. A selfie of her with Anna. And she uploaded everything and tagged everyone, including, of course, my sister Laura. It didn't even take an hour. My cell phone, which had been silent, started ringing like crazy. It was Beatrice. I let it ring. And ring. And ring. 10 missed calls. Then a text message. Answer your phone, Elena. Right now. I took a deep breath and answered. I put it on speaker. David and my in-laws were in the living room, but they fell silent. Well. You are shameless, ungrateful. Beatrice shouted, so loudly I had to pull the phone away from my ear. How dare you? Showing off in mansions with those people, with your in-laws, while your parents are stuck here with nothing. You make me sick, Elena. David smiled and raised his wine glass to me. I stayed silent, letting her vent. I listened to the whole litany of insults that I was a bad daughter, that I only cared about money, that I preferred those people, my in-laws, over my own blood. When she finally took a breath, I spoke with a calmness I didn't know I possessed. Hello, Mom. With nothing. Stuck. That's strange. Because I could have sworn you're in a 4-bedroom house that I paid for. You're cooking in a kitchen that I remodeled. And you're sitting under a roof that I repaired. You call that nothing? There was a shocked silence. You. That was your obligation. We gave you life. You should have put that house in my name from the beginning. That house is mine. No, Mom, it's not. Legally, it's mine. And you know it. You are and another thing, I interrupted her. Weren't I the one who wasn't welcome? Weren't my children other people's children and not blood of your blood? Why do you care so much what I do with my other people's family? You just said we're not family, so don't ever call me again. Delete my number. And I hung up. My hand wasn't shaking. I poured myself a glass of wine. David was looking at me with an admiration that made me feel 10 feet tall. That's my wife, he said softly. Carmen and my father-in-law said nothing, but their faces said it all. They were on my side. But it didn't stop there. My phone exploded. Beatrice, unable to reach me, had activated her flying monkeys. Messages from my aunts. Messages from my cousins. All people who hadn't spoken to me in years. Elena, how can you be so cruel to your mother? Your sister Laura told me your mom is devastated. A mansion? Seriously? You have no shame. You were always the weird one, but this is crossing the line. I blocked number after number. But the damage was done. Beatrice was painting me as the villain, as always. I was tired of the same dynamic, tired of being the bad guy in the story. I went to my room for a moment, opened Instagram, and there it was. It was a post from my mother, Beatrice. A photo of her and Laura, hugging, smiling in the garden of my house. It had been taken that same day, after my call. And the caption, "Here with my only daughter who is worth anything, the one who never abandons me. Blood always calls to blood. I love you, my Princess Laura. My only daughter who is worth anything. Blood always calls to blood." I saw it, and the steel rage in my stomach turned to ice. The coldest, sharpest ice in the universe. It was over. The guilt was over. The doubt was over. The hope was over. I picked up my phone, looked for the number I hadn't used in years. My lawyers. Clara? It's Elena. Yes, the one and only. How have you been? Good, thanks. Listen, I need a favor. I need you to draft an eviction notice. 30 days. Yes. For the property on Robles Street. Exactly. The one in my name. The tenants are Beatrice and Raphael, my parents. Yes, I know. Can you have it ready today? Excellent. And Clara, can you make sure a notary delivers it, say, on Easter Sunday around 8 p.m.? I know it's a holiday. I'll pay extra. Yes, right at dinner time. I hung up. That Easter Sunday, while Beatrice and Laura and her businessman boyfriend were eating their blood-only dinner in my house, I was on the mansion's terrace, roasting marshmallows with Lucas and Julia. At 8:15 p.m., I received an email confirmation. Package delivered. Signed for by Beatrice R. I smiled, and for the first time in my life, I felt truly free. The next morning, Monday, I woke up to the sound of the lake and the birds. I had slept 8 straight hours, without nightmares. I felt light. I went down to the kitchen. David was already there, making coffee with a conspiratorial smile. "Good morning, my love," he said, handing me a cup. "Good morning. So, has the circus started yet?" I looked at my phone, which I had left charging in the kitchen. It was a spectacle. 52 missed calls. 30 from Beatrice, 20 from Laura, 2 from my Aunt Marta. And the text messages were a treasure trove. Beatrice, what the fuck is this, Elena? Beatrice, you are sick. This is a sick joke. Beatrice, you're going to give me a heart attack. Beatrice, call off your lawyer right now. You're putting us on the street. Then Laura's. Laura, you fucking snake. I always hated you. Laura, are you happy now, Laura? My mom is in the hospital. Is that what you wanted? To kill her? I knew that was a lie. Beatrice never set foot in a hospital unless it was for cosmetic surgery. Laura, you are a disgrace. You're going to rot alone, you fucking psycho. And then the voicemails. I showed the phone to David. I think they got the notice, I said, trying to sound serious. David burst out laughing. Poor things. Want to listen to one? Please. Put on your mother's. I put it on speaker as I sipped my coffee. Beatrice's voice wasn't a scream, it was the hiss of a viper, full of venom. Elena, I don't know what game you're playing, but you'd better stop this. You can't do this to me, to your own mother. What kind of example are you setting for those stolen children you picked up? You're teaching them to steal, because you're stealing my house. I shut off the audio abruptly. Stolen children. The words echoed in the sunny kitchen. I felt a sharp pang of pain, but I held it back. David came over and took my face in his hands. His eyes were serious. No. Don't let her poison you. Not again, Elena. What she said is disgusting. It's the sound of a cornered animal. It has nothing to do with you. And it has nothing to do with our children. I nodded, taking a deep breath. Stolen children, I repeated quietly. Okay. Okay, you're right. The phone rang again. This time it was Laura. David looked at me. This one. Answer it. Just for fun. I hesitated, but the rage over stolen children won. I answered. What do you want, Laura? I said, without a greeting. You are a daughter of a bitch, she screamed. Are you happy? You ruined everything. You ruined Easter. Moms. I mean, my boyfriend left. He thought we were crazy. Oh, what a shame. The businessman. I guess he didn't like the family drama. Shut up. Mom is crying. Dad is furious. What do you think is going to happen now? Where are we going to go? I don't know, Laura. I guess you'll have to pack. You have 30 days. That's enough time to find an apartment. Or maybe the businessman can lend you one. I hate you. I hate you so much. And all for what? Because we didn't invite you to a fucking lunch. And there, all the calm I had felt evaporated, replaced by 35 years of contained rage. For a lunch? I said, my voice so low Laura had to be quiet to hear me. No, you idiot. It wasn't for a lunch. It was for the bicycle on my 10th birthday. It was for every time I was blamed for something you did. It was for every time I was told I wasn't good enough, that I was fat, that I was stupid, that I would never get married. It was for telling me my children were other people's and stolen. It was for your fucking Instagram post saying you were the only daughter worth anything. It wasn't for a lunch, Laura. It was for a lifetime. Is that clear? There was total silence on the other end. And then Laura said the only thing she knew how to say. You're just jealous. You've always been jealous. Jealous that Mom always loved me more. And I laughed. A dry, bitter laugh. No, Laura. I wasn't jealous. I was hurt. It's not the same thing. But not anymore. It doesn't hurt anymore. I don't feel anything anymore. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to take my children fishing. Enjoy taking care of Mom. Goodbye. I hung up. My hands were shaking. David passed me a shot of tequila, even though it was 9 a.m. Are you okay? He asked. I don't know, I answered, taking a sip that burned my throat. But I'm tired. So tired. Outside, the sun was shining on the lake. My children were laughing in the living room, oblivious to it all. And my mother kept calling, but I wasn't going to answer anymore. The calm returned. We spent the day swimming, having a barbecue. Carmen and my father-in-law were the dream grandparents. For the first time, I felt that my family, the real one, the one I chose, was complete. But the storm was just beginning. That afternoon, while the kids were napping and David was washing dishes with soft music in the background, my cell phone vibrated. It was a number I recognized but that almost never called me. My father, Raphael. For years, he had been a shadow. If my mother, Beatrice, was the hailstorm, my father was the closed door. Quiet, passive, useless. Complicit by omission. The man who watched them take my bicycle away and went to his study. I didn't know why I answered. Maybe out of curiosity. Maybe because some idiotic part of me was still looking for something from him. And, I'm sorry. Hello, I said. Silence. Just a harsh breath. Dad? He coughed. Cleared his throat. His voice sounded weaker than I remembered. Hello, daughter. That word, daughter, hit me harder than I expected. I couldn't remember the last time he'd said it with anything other than indifference. What do you want, Dad? If you're calling about the house, there's nothing to talk about. You have 30 days. No, well, yes, but no. Elena, I need us to talk. What for? To tell me I'm a monster. To tell me your wife is devastated. No, he said, for you to listen to me. Just that. Please. I remained silent. He took it as permission. Your mother is out of control, he said. She's screaming. She's packing, but she's breaking more things than she's packing. She says you destroyed her, that you betrayed her, that you took everything from her. She threw me out of her life first, Dad. She said my children weren't family. I just followed her logic to its conclusion. I know, he said, and his voice broke. That took me by surprise. You know, I'm not a good father, Elena. I never was. But I'm not an idiot. I saw everything that happened. I saw what happened with your birthdays. I saw how she treated you, I saw how she belittled you. I saw it all, and I did nothing. Why? I asked, my voice an icy whisper. Because I was scared, he admitted. Scared of what? Of her. Scared of her. Scared of being alone. Scared of losing my comfort. Scared of confronting her. She was always stronger than me. No. She was cruel. And you were weak. Yes, he said, a dry, naked, pathetic hiss. There was no excuse. I want to fix things, Elena. You can't, Dad. It's too late. I can try. Why do you think I'm calling now? Because you kicked us out. Because we can't live in your house for free anymore. That's why you're calling. There was a long, long silence. No, he finally said. I'm calling now because I'm sick, daughter. My heart stopped. What? I have pancreatic cancer. Stage 4. I was diagnosed 6 months ago. I sat down on the terrace. The sun was beating down, but I was shivering with cold. I didn't tell anyone. Not your mother, not Laura. I didn't want. I don't know. Pity. But now. I didn't know if I should believe him. It could be a game, another manipulation. But his voice had a tremor I'd never heard before. A tremor of real fear. And what do you want from me, Dad? Forgiveness? Money? For me to stop the eviction? I don't know. Maybe a little dignity before the end. Maybe just. You should have thought about your dignity when you let your wife treat me like garbage for 30 years, Dad. When you went into your study instead of defending me over a bicycle. I know, he repeated, and this time he sobbed. I couldn't. I couldn't feel compassion. I felt pity, a disgusting pity. And I felt rage. Rage that even now, even dying, he was coming to me for absolution, to place another burden on me. I can't help you, Dad, I said, and my voice was pure ice. I can't carry your guilt too. I'm not anyone's safety net anymore. I am not this family's scapegoat anymore. Then just let me say this. Please. I waited. I'm sorry, Elena. I'm sorry for everything. For not defending you, for not hugging you more, for not telling you that you were valuable. I was wrong, every single day. I know that now. And for the first time in my life, I heard my father truly cry. I hung up the phone without saying anything, because there was nothing to say. I stood there, looking at the lake, my heart in a knot and my soul divided. My father's confession threw me off. David noticed my silence at dinner. I told him. A low blow, David said, shaking his head. Even if it's true, using cancer now is cheap manipulation, Elena. I know, but I feel dirty. That's what they want. For you to feel guilty. Don't fall into their trap. He was right, but sleeping that night was difficult. 3 days later, we returned to our house. The calm of the mansion felt a million miles away. And in our mailbox, there was a letter. It wasn't from my parents. It was from a law firm. An expensive one. The envelope was thick, elegant. Look at this, I told David, placing it on the kitchen table without opening it. He looked at it like it was a bomb. What do they think they're going to do? Sue you for your own house? I wouldn't be surprised. Laura must have convinced her businessman boyfriend to pay for this. I opened it. It was a lawsuit. A long letter written in that cold, passive-aggressive legalese. Legal words that disguised a monumental tantrum. My client, Mrs. Beatrice R., has resided for more than 20 years in the aforementioned property, which constitutes, according to current legislation, a relationship of tacit usufruct. I read the sentence twice. Tacit usufruct. The right to use for living there rent-free. Are you serious? I said to David. Now it turns out I have to compensate her for letting her live for free for 2 decades in my house. David let out a humorless laugh. And what do they want? I read further. They wanted money. $100,000 for emotional distress and wrongful eviction. They wanted to invalidate my notice, claiming it was an abuse of familial power. Familial. I shouted. Familial. The same woman who told me my children weren't family. I leaned back in my chair, exhausted. This was a nightmare. They want to tarnish my name. They want me to give up. They want to wear me down until I just give them the house. David looked at me. And are you going to? I looked at him steadily. I took out the blue folder from my safe, the property tax receipts from the last 15 years, the invoices for the kitchen remodel with my signature, the monthly bank transfers for expenses. No, I said. I'm not. I called my lawyer, Clara, the same one who had helped me with the adoption. Clara was direct, smart, and had no patience for nonsense. I scanned the lawsuit to her. I heard her dry laugh on the other end of the line. Tacit usufruct. Please. That's what deadbeat tenants try to pull. Elena, the house is yours. You have the payment records, you have the deed. The rest is theatrics. Can they do anything to me, Clara? Just waste your time and money, and wear you down emotionally. It's a frivolous lawsuit, but they can make it noisy. They've been doing that since I was born, I replied bitterly. Well said. What do you want to do? Counteroffer? Mediation? No. I want you to execute the eviction, no more messing around. And I want to countersue for legal costs. Done, Clara said. But be prepared, Elena. This is just the beginning. Clara was right. The lawsuit was only the first front. The second front was public. That same night, my sister Laura unleashed hell on social media. It started with an Instagram story, a selfie of her with smeared mascara, hugging my mother Beatrice, who was pretending to cry inconsolably in front of some empty boxes. The text read, "Heartbroken. My own sister threw us out on the street like dogs. With 30 days' notice. To my sick parents. Some people are born without a soul. She'd rather keep other people's children than take care of her own blood. Other people's children. Own blood." Below, a flood of comments. Cousins, aunts, family friends, acquaintances, all outraged. How horrible, Laura. I can't believe it. Elena was always so cold. A disgrace. Your parents need you. Stick with the ones who really love you, Loretta. It was a slaughter. They called me a monster, ungrateful, an ice queen. Everyone buying the drama, everyone believing the family soap opera that Beatriz and Laura had written. But it didn't stop there. The next day, Laura took it to the next level. She created a GoFundMe page, or rather, a fundraiser on a local platform. The title, Help Beatriz and Raphael Find a Home. The description was a masterpiece of manipulation. My beloved parents, after 50 years of hard work, have been stripped of their home by my sister Elena, a rich and heartless woman. My father Raphael is gravely ill, and my mother Beatriz is heartbroken. We are only asking for help with a security deposit for a rental. God bless you. The goal, 100,000 pesos. My phone exploded again. This time it was links to the fundraiser. Elena, have you seen this? Is it true? You've sunk so low, cousin. I called Clara, furious. They're lying. They're soliciting money from the public. I know, Clara said calmly. It's defamation. We can send a cease and desist order. But think carefully, Elena. Do you want to escalate it to that level? You'll just give them more publicity. She was right. I took a deep breath. No. Let them. Let them drown in their own lies. But then I received a call. My Aunt Marta, my mother's sister, the only one who had always been somewhat neutral, though she never dared to fully defend me. Elena, she said in a low voice, I'm just calling so you know. This isn't just about the eviction. What do you mean, Auntie? Your mother. Beatriz is arranging an early inheritance. She went to the notary yesterday. She's signing over everything she has to Laura. Everything. The commercial property they rent out, the few pieces of jewelry your grandmother left her, everything. She says she doesn't want the ungrateful witch that's you to touch a single peso when she dies. I hung up. I didn't feel rage. I felt confirmation. As if something I already suspected had become tangible. I went on Instagram, and there it was. Laura had just posted a photo. Her, holding the property deed for the commercial space. The text, thank you, Mommy, for always thinking of me. You always knew who was unconditionally by your side. Blood calls to blood. Beatriz's obsession with giving everything to Laura. The rush to disinherit me. The phrase, blood calls to blood. My sick father's confession. Something didn't add up. My father's confession. I saw everything. I was scared of her. And then I remembered something Clara had asked me for. Elena, for the countersuit, I'm going to need all the payment records for the house taxes, renovations, everything you have. Especially the originals of the mortgage transfer. Do you have them? Yes, I said. I think I put all that in a safe deposit box at the bank. But the oldest papers. I think they're in the garage at my parents' house. Damn. Well, Clara said, you can't go in there now. Are you sure you don't have copies? I'll look. I have boxes and boxes of old papers in my own garage, stuff I brought from my room when I got married. That night, David put the kids to bed, and I went down to the garage. I started searching through dusty boxes labeled college, old taxes, mementos. I found a box labeled important documents. I opened it. There was my college diploma, my birth certificate, and indeed, a folder with copies of the house's bank transfers. I sighed with relief. But under that folder was another one, an older one I didn't recognize. It had my mother's name, Beatriz, on it. I must have brought it by mistake years ago. My gut told me to open it. Inside were old papers, letters, photos of my mother when she was young. And then I saw a letter. It wasn't from my father. It was from a man named Alejandro. A passionate love letter, dated a year before Laura was born. It spoke of their secret, of an impossible decision. I felt a chill. I kept digging, and then I found it. It was tucked inside that love letter. An envelope from a laboratory. Paternity test results. Dated over 20 years ago. When Laura was about 8. My hands were shaking. I opened it. It was a DNA test. Subject 1, Rafael. Father. Subject 2, Laura. Daughter. Result, negative. Probability of paternity, 0%. The world stopped. I had to sit down on the dusty garage floor. Laura. Laura was not my father's daughter. Beatriz had been unfaithful to Rafael. She had gotten pregnant and had convinced him to raise the child as his own. Everything. Everything made sense in one horrible, blinding second. The favoritism, the need to protect Laura at all costs, the contempt for me. I wasn't the scapegoat. I was the living reminder. I was the legitimate daughter. Beatriz hated me because I was the truth, and Laura was her lie, her guilt. All that guilt, she had projected onto me. Beatriz's hatred wasn't because I was inadequate, it was because she was a fraud. Blood calls to blood. What cruel irony. I called my father, Rafael. It was 11 p.m. He answered on the second ring, as if he'd been waiting for the call. You found it, didn't you? He said in a dead voice. You knew, I whispered. I've known since Laura was 8. I found that same letter. I made her take the test, and she confessed. And why? Why did you stay? Because his voice broke. Because she asked me to. Because I already had you, Elena. And because it was easier to look the other way. It was easier to let her. To let her punish you for her own sin. I cried, but not from sadness. I cried from rage, from disgust, from a bitter relief. My family wasn't broken. My family was a farce built on a lie, and I had been the pillar forced to hold it up. I went upstairs. David was in the living room, watching TV. He saw my face. Elena, what happened? You're pale as a ghost. I handed him the paper. The DNA test. He read it once, twice. My God, he murmured. Elena. This. He looked up, and his eyes weren't filled with surprise, they were filled with fury. This is it, Elena. This changes everything. This is why she hates you. And Laura. Laura doesn't even have a legal right to that inheritance. That commercial property. We can destroy them. David was excited. We have to call Clara. This nullifies the inheritance transfer. This proves Beatriz's bad faith. We can end them. I shook my head slowly. No, I said. What? Elena, don't you understand? This is your nuclear weapon. You've won. No, David. I don't want to win. Not anymore. What are you talking about? They deserve it. Laura, who boasts so much about her blood. She's not who she thinks she is. And what do I gain by telling her? Watching her suffer. Watching Laura fall apart. Watching my father be publicly humiliated. I've seen enough suffering. I've felt enough rage. I sat down next to him. David, if I use this, if I call Clara and use it in court, I become them. I become Beatriz, using others' secrets to destroy. I sink to their level, and I won't do it. But Elena, it's not fair. No, it's not. My whole life hasn't been fair. But my victory isn't beating them at their own dirty game. My victory is to stop playing. I took the DNA test. This isn't a weapon. It's my liberation. It's the proof that I was never the problem. They were the problem. And I don't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. David looked at me for a long moment. The fury in his eyes softened and turned into deep admiration. You are the strongest woman I know, Elena, he said, hugging me. I'm just tired, David. I don't want to fight anymore. I just want peace. I want to raise my children. I want Lucas and Julia and Anna to grow up far away from this poison, far from secrets and lies and blood tests. I made my decision right then. I wouldn't tell Laura anything. I wouldn't use it in court. I would let them live with their lie. I had enough with my own truth. That night, I did something I should have done a long time ago. I lit the fireplace. It was warm outside, but I didn't care. I went to the garage and brought back the box labeled Mementos. The box I had carried with me from house to house. I sat on the floor in front of the fire. David sat beside me in silence, just watching. I took things out one by one. The first photo. Me, at age 7, at a school festival. I was wearing a white dress stained with mud. I remembered that day. Laura had pushed me, but Beatrice punished me for being careless. I threw it into the fire. I watched the image curl and turn black. I pulled out another, a Christmas photo. Laura, age 10, surrounded by a mountain of gifts. Me, at 12, holding a single sweater, the sweater Beatrice had told me to be grateful for, that at least I had something. I threw it into the fire. Letters, childish drawings I had made for my mother that she had kept in that box, not out of love, but out of obligation. Theater tickets, elementary school diplomas one by one, I fed them to the flames. I didn't cry. I didn't tremble. It was like cleaning an infected wound with alcohol. It burned, yes, but it was a healing burn. A cleansing burn. David said nothing, just placed his hand on my back, giving me strength. When the last photo turned to smoke, I took a deep breath. The air felt cleaner. And now? David asked quietly. Now, I said, I start over. I went to my office, took a sheet of paper, and wrote a letter. It wasn't to be sent, it was for me. Beatrice, today I discovered your secret, and I understand everything. I understand your cruelty, I understand your favoritism, I understand your hatred. But to understand is not to forgive. I am no longer your daughter, not in the way you understand it. You don't owe me love, but you owed me respect, and you failed. I don't hate you, but I don't forgive you either. I don't want you near me. Not for revenge, but for my mental health. Because my children do not deserve to grow up next to someone who considers them other people's children. Because I do not deserve to keep begging for an affection that never existed. Goodbye. I folded the letter, put it in a new envelope. Next to it, I put the DNA test. I sealed the envelope. I went to the garage, took a new, clean plastic box. I wrote on it with a marker, the past. I put the envelope inside and sealed it with tape. I moved it to the farthest corner of the attic. Then I took another clean box. I wrote, the future. Inside, I put new drawings. One that Lucas had made of our family, the 5 of us smiling. A photo of our first Christmas with Carmen. Anna's baby shoe. I sealed it and put it in my closet, where I could see it every day. It was over. This time, for real. The next day, I called Clara, my lawyer. Clara, I want to withdraw the countersuit for defamation. And I want to stop the eviction. What? Elena, are you sure? We're winning. I'm sure. I don't want the house anymore. I don't want their money. I don't want anything from them. Sell it. Sell that house. Take your commission and deposit the rest into a trust for my children. I don't want to hear about that property ever again. There was a silence. Whatever you say, boss. It's your call. And that was that. The months passed. Beatrice and Laura must have received the notification that the house was being put up for sale because the hate messages returned, but this time I didn't read them. I blocked Beatrice. I blocked Laura. I blocked all the aunts and cousins who had insulted me. My life became quiet. One day, I received a message from an unknown number. Daughter, it's your mother. I'm sick, very sick. The doctor says it's not good. I want to see my grandchildren. I want to say goodbye. My heart skipped a beat. What if it was true? What if my father's cancer wasn't a strategy? He did know. I took a deep breath and called. She answered on the second ring. Her voice didn't sound weak, it sounded impatient. I knew you'd call, she said with a theatrical sigh. What do you want, Beatrice? I said, not using the word mom. How cold. I'm telling you I'm sick. And why are you calling me? Do you really want to see the kids, or do you just want to control the narrative? Do you want someone to say you made peace with me when you die? Do you want to clean up your image? She fell silent. I had caught her. You are a monster, Elena. You are destroying this family. No, Beatrice. The family was already destroyed. I just stopped pretending it wasn't. And I'm warning you, don't call again. My children have a right to be safe, and you are not a safe place. I hung up and blocked that number too. More time passed. The house was sold. My Aunt Marta called me one last time. Did you hear? They had to move out. They're living with Laura in her small apartment, and they're driving each other crazy. They scream all the time. Laura says she can't stand Beatrice, that your mother complains about everything. And your father? Well, he's just letting himself die on the sofa. Not my problem, Auntie. I know. I just thought you'd want to know. December arrived. Our Christmas tree was full of chaotic ornaments my kids had made. The house smelled like cookies and hot chocolate. On the 24th at night, we had a simple dinner. My in-laws, David, the kids, and me. We toasted to the year, to our health. While I was wrapping presents, I found a loose sheet of paper. I wrote on it, "Dear past me, you made it. Not perfect. Not unscathed. But free." My son Lucas, now 4, came up to me with a chocolate-smeared face and gave me a tight hug. "You're the best mommy in the world," he whispered, and I knew I didn't need anything else. The next day, December 25th, a year after that curt text message, I was on my terrace drinking coffee. The sky was clear. My phone vibrated. An unknown number. I looked at it, smiled, and turned the phone off. I had nothing left to say. Because peace, sometimes, isn't forgiveness. It's silence. Final interaction question. I made the decision not to use the DNA test against my sister and my mother, and not to speak to my sick father again, even after his confession. But sometimes, in the quiet nights, I wonder, was I right to keep that secret, or should I have exposed the lie that ruined my life? What would you have done in my place? Thank you for listening to this story to the end. What do you think of Elena's decision? Leave us your comment down below. We love reading them. And if you liked this story and want more, please support us with a like. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. It helps us grow so much. See you in the next story.